morning, and we're coming to you live from the Central Business District of capital Kingstown in St. Vincent and the Grenadines for the Kingstown Port Modernization Project launch ceremony. It's a rainy day here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and by extension across the Eastern Caribbean. The ceremony should have started a couple minutes ago, about 30 minutes or so ago, but you would understand with the rain that there have been some delays. I am joined this morning on broadcast by my co-host and Colvin Harry. Good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning, to Dion. Well, it's a rainy morning, but it's a very special occasion today, a very big event for a very simple way of telling you it, but it's a very interesting development for the ports in St. Vincent and the Grenadines with the Port Modernization Project, and we've heard quite a lot about it in the last few weeks, and today, after much planning and the arrival of the officials, we can now have a ceremony to celebrate this occasion. 3 phases. We're starting with phase 1 in the first part, and we hope to hear from the stakeholders, all of those involved in the project, as to the whole scope of the project and the potential benefits for St. Vincent and the Grenadines when this project is complete.
Well, we're expected to hear from several speakers this morning, including those who are contributing in terms of the finances to the building of this modern port. The CDB, for example, they're contributing, in fact, 110 US million in soft loans. The UK government, 35 million. We have about 62 million in loan from the Zing Bank from the Republic of China, Taiwan, and the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines is also contributing to the building of this project. You mentioned earlier on it is a 3-pronged process. It will be built in 3 phases. So walk us through the stages.
Well, the first phase, which is the biggest of all, is the primary cargo port, and that's what is depicted when you looked at the intro screen we had a minute ago, and on the banner that's mounted in front of the stage, there's a graphic representation of Lot 1, or Phase 1 of the project, and this is the primary cargo terminal. This is what will be handling all of the traffic, traffic going in and out in terms of shipping, etc. Phases 2 and 3 are inter-island primary, secondary sort of, where you have the connection between mainland St. Vincent and the Grenadine Islands, and also the other regional connections as well. And that will see the relocation of the current facilities at the terminal, the Kingstown port, to the lower Kingstown area where we're seated here today. What we know as the lower end of the reclamation site, yes, for want of a better point of view. Just behind the agricultural input warehouse is where we're actually set up, and this is ground zero for the development which will happen particularly in phase 1. So there are 3 phases. Phase 1, which is the one we're focusing on especially today, and phase 2 and phase 3 will follow in due course.
Well, just reading from some preparatory notes which we have here this morning, the process to construct the port was, this came, of course, and was fueled by the December 2019 meeting of the Caribbean Development Bank, when they decided and they approved funding to give support to this particular project. So the main source of funding and financing is through a UK CIF grant, which amounts to US 36 million, CDB loans of US 110 million, the government of St. Vincent contribution of US 42.8 million, and US 62 million from the Republic of China, Taiwan. And as we go through this morning, you would hear how the various stakeholders got involved in this project. The other stakeholders who are part of this function, the executing ministry is the Ministry of Urban Development, Energy, Airports, Seaports, Grenadines Affairs and Local Government, the Board Steering Committee for Oversight of the Project Implementation, the Project Implementation Unit for the coordination of activities, the Supervision Consultant, Selho and Company, and the contractors, Acon Construction Group Incorporated. The ceremony is officially starting with the opening prayer, so we're going to take you to the lectern.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this day that you have made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Lord God, we thank you for this opportunity that you have blessed us with as we today God launches this program, I pray, Father God, for his safety. I pray, God, for everyone who will share today. I pray, God, for the workmen. I pray that he will continue to provide. I pray, God, that this project, oh God, will be a blessing to our land. I pray as this project goes through, God, that you, oh God, will be the guide. I pray, God, for our political leader, the Prime Minister especially. I pray, God, in the name of Jesus, that will touch him. I pray, Father, for everyone, God, who's involved in helping, oh God, with the financing of this program today, of this, oh God, this sport today. Lord God, I pray in the name of Jesus, I bring this country before you. The economy, God, I pray that this oh God, port will help, oh God, to bail our economy. I pray, God, in the name of Jesus, as we go through this program today, God, for everyone, oh God, who will share, I pray, bless upon us. And as we celebrate and as we give you thanks, in Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
Thank you very much. Be seated, please. Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Gonzalez, Ralph Gonzalez, Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Honorable Julian Francis, Minister of Urban Development, Seaports and Airports, other members of Cabinet, members of Parliament, the Honorable Rennie Batiste, Speaker of the OECS Assembly, His Excellency Scott Ferguson Wood, High Commissioner to Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean, and his team, senior public servants, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Isaac Solomon, the Vice President of Operations of the CDB, Mr. Marty Harris, Executive Lead and Senior Vice President of ACON, Mr. Hermel Creel, Project Manager from Selhorn. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is my pleasure here to welcome you to the launch of the Kingstown Port Modernization Project, part of the Government of St. Vincent's plan and effort to create that modern, competitive, many-sided, post-colonial economy that is at once local, national, regional, and global. This port will significantly transform Kingstown and the economy of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And we have with us partners who would all speak about their role, the role that they are playing in the creation of this port project. Our Prime Minister would give a feature address and pull it all together. You are in for a treat this morning. We would proceed quickly because I see the clouds are starting to gather again. And so without any further ado, let me ask Mr. Linsky Douglas, who's the project manager, to give you a project overview.
Thank you very much, Sian. I'll adopt the protocol of the Masters of Ceremony. Good morning to all present and to those tuned in via media. Much work has been done and an intense period lies ahead. My role today is to present the project overview. Before I get to details, I want to acknowledge the importance of vision, leadership, focused dedication. This project, conceived by one visionary and esteemed senior public servant, on becoming aware of funding being made available to Caribbean governments under the United Kingdom Caribbean Infrastructure Fund, was immediately embraced by the Honorable Prime Minister, who has championed this project from then on. The dream for new port facilities nurtured to gather us here today. After many years of focused work, today we are here to launch the Port Modernization Project Works in pursuit of the Government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines' strategic aim to improve physical infrastructure and the working environment at the port as a vehicle to deliver economic growth while supporting improved livelihoods, poverty reduction, and safer conditions for citizens. The preparatory heavy lifting is now complete. We have gone past many challenges, much work has been done, and an intense period do lie ahead. To contextualize this project, a historical look at port construction and development over the years is fitting. The Kingstown Deepwater Wharf was constructed between 1962 and 1964. As trade increased, additional facilities were constructed in the Kingstown Harbor. Construction of the Grenadines Wharf in the 1972 for ferry traffic between the St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and between St. Vincent and the Grenadines Islands. Construction of the Container Park as an expansion to Port Kingstown around 1979. The Camden Park Container Port, which was built outside of the capital, was done in the 1990s, and the Cruise and Ferry Terminal Complex between 1997 and 1999. Through 2022 to 2025, the Government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines will be executing construction on a modern cargo port to consolidate port operations. These facilities to be constructed will be climate resilient, and the modern port will have the capability for future expansion. Acknowledging port development as being critically important for the future economic growth and development of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, this project master plan was designed to minimize the disruption and is based on seaward reclamation as opposed to utilizing existing waterfront properties. The new infrastructure development should act as a catalyst for redevelopment of Rose Place. We are witnessing the early stages of this transformation. Gender safeguards will ensure the development does not disadvantage women, while the socio-economic safeguards will ensure interest groups and stakeholders are not disadvantaged. The Caribbean Development Bank Board of Directors approved funding in support of the implementation of the Kingstown Port Modernization Project at their December 12, 2019 meeting, with resources from the CDB and the United Kingdom Caribbean Infrastructure Fund and the Government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. By the time this project went to market for a contractor, additional funding resources had to be secured through the Republic of China and Taiwan. In sum, this project amounts to US $250 million. This project is the first phase of a three-phase port development program. The scope of the project being executed by the Ministry of Urban Development with oversight of a board steering committee comprising of key stakeholders includes the reclamation of approximately 6 hectares of land from the Foreshore Road spanning from the North River upwards towards the Kingstown Fish Market. To clear the project footprint, the sewer line operated by the Central Water and Sewerage Authority will be rerouted. Project-affected persons are subject to resettlement actions, and the required road works to integrate the completed modern facility into the Kingstown Road network will also be done. The facility will house accommodation for all critical port-related stakeholders. Our contractors, Aecon Construction Group, Inc. of Canada, will be supervised by Selhorn of Germany. Both firms signed contracts with the Government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines on May 3rd of 2022. This cargo port project will be executed in Kingstown. Being executed in Kingstown is the second largest capital project being implemented by the Government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. However, there are some important firsts. The government secured the largest loan facility from the Caribbean Development Bank to fund this assignment. This is also the largest design and build project being executed in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The lead administrators are women, our esteemed permanent secretary and the board chairperson. We utilize our platform during market engagement exercise in 2020 to advertise the port project in Montserrat. The project affected persons and operations are comprised entirely of informal settlers and informal type operations. I'll touch on this a little later in my remarks. Building on the work of past committees, as of receiving CDB's approval for financing in 2019, the intense project preparation activities were executed by a dedicated team of qualified young people, the staff of the Port Project Implementation Unit within the Ministry of Urban Development. The government has been generous to project-affected persons. Those persons who were subject to resettlement actions are better positioned now as a result of the port project. Vendors along the seawall, former residents of Rose Place beachfront, small shop owners, storage shed owners, fishermen who had their fishing operations out of Rose Place. Everyone has been treated generously. The project conducted an environmental and social impact assessment in 2019, an economic livelihood impact assessment also in 2019, and a resettlement action plan in February of 2022 to guide our approach towards project-affected persons. The project unit adopted a consultative and inclusive approach as it relates to matters of addressing the project-affected persons. The project team consulted broadly with these project-affected groups. Formal meetings were held at the Methodist Church Hall, focus group discussions were held, individual consultations were held, and an early on-ground engagement of a local community liaison officer was very effective in this process. Our project office that we're in close proximity to the project-affected persons and maintains an open door where project-affected persons can walk in or call to obtain and share information. The resettlement has not been all smooth sailing. Significant progress has been made in ensuring that the construction site is made ready for handing over to the contractors while addressing the needs and conditions of the project-affected groups. In 2020, some 56 vendors were compensated to remove their activity from along the seawall. By the end of March of 2022, 43 households were resettled to superior accommodation to our resettlement site in Lomans Bay. This was a magnificent housing project costing the government around 4.8 million EC dollars. As of the end of June 2022, yesterday, our project unit has negotiated compensation settlement with all of the affected small shop operations in Rose Place. 2/3 of the storage shed owners already came forward to sign agreements. Persons living in odd circumstances were given rental support allowances, and all but one of the 35 established fishing operators has since agreed and signed compensation agreement for relocation of their operations away from the Rose Place beachfront. The government is providing transportation for affected school children relocated to Lomans Bay until such time they can be appropriately transferred. The government paid for the installation of water and electricity to all of the dwellings and occupied in Lomans Bay. Physically challenged persons receive housing units with specially designed elements to cater for their specific needs. In areas where the port project scope does not extend, the entities of state to provide social support remains accessible. Our Prime Minister is making available scholarships for children of fisherfolk impacted by the port modernization project. These all illustrate the application of the social safeguards mechanism as we take care of the vulnerable and physically challenged. In addition to the construction and resettlement, there's also a soft component of institutional strengthening and transformation as the management of the existing port prepares for the future on the new cargo port facility. As we celebrate the launch of the port project, to construct the cargo port in Kingstown today, we also look forward to the future challenges and opportunity. I want to congratulate the Caribbean Development Bank, the United Kingdom Caribbean Infrastructure Fund for their support to this undertaking. I want to congratulate our Honorable Minister of Ports, because this is an important one. We look forward to the evolution of the execution of works from our contractors, ACON. Congratulations to the Prime Minister for his steadfast leadership. I believe after one big project under his belt, the Argyle International Airport, on the successful completion of this, the cargo port construction, you should be crowned the project boss, because you're the leader who brought to reality two massive critical pieces of infrastructure projects. And I happen to know He is not going to stop at 2 massive projects, as his vision is broad, forward-based, in the interest of the development and strategic position of this country, from which we all will benefit. Much work has been done. An intense period lies ahead. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Linsky. Senator Francis, I think Linsky has just upstaged you.
The project manager acting of the Port Modernization project, Mr. Linsky Douglas, in explaining how the project will span out and giving the history of the port. The history of the port, that's quite a dynamic story, and we will share that with you as we go through. But the speeches are coming very quickly because given this situation with the rain, so
we have some sunshine now, though.
Yes, we have some now, and very shortly we'll be raising our drone, and I could remember that was called Eye in the Sky is our last project, so you'll be seeing that. But we will be hearing our representative, the Vice President of the Operations of the Caribbean Development Bank, Isaac Solomon, to bring remarks.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Sia. That's a good welcome home. Honorable Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the Honorable Julian Francis, Minister of Urban Development, Energy, Airports, Seaports, Grenadines Affairs and Local Government, Your Excellency Scott Forson, Don Wood, British High Commissioner, Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean, Members of Parliament, Permanent Secretaries and government officials, distinguished guests on the platform and in the audience, members of the media, good morning. On behalf of the President and staff of the Caribbean Development Bank, I convey sincere appreciation to the government and people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines on the official launch of the Kingstown Port Modernization Project, financed by the United Kingdom Caribbean Infrastructure Partnership Fund, UKCIF, the CDB, and the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We are indeed pleased to support the government's development plans with this pioneering initiative. Actually, this is just one example of our strong working relationship and partnership with the government in a number of areas, promoting holistic development and transformative social and economic change. Only recently, the bank and the government launched the National Standardization and Certification of Exportable Services Providers Project. I also had the recent pleasure of participating in the official handing over ceremony for homes constructed to accommodate residents of Rose Place to be displaced as a result of this project. And of course, I also was here for the launch of the school improvement project. Today is historic on many fronts. Beyond commemorating a significant investment in both infrastructure and the people by the bank and our development partners at the UK Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, we also commenced the largest project ever undertaken at CDB. You didn't hear that? I'm saying to you, in its 52 years history, across its 19 borrowing member countries, this is the largest project ever undertaken by the Caribbean Development Bank. Of course, you could understand why I couldn't allow any of my colleagues to come here today to say this. Ladies and gentlemen, a loan of 110 million United States dollars has been provided by the Caribbean Development Bank to deliver a world-class port to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Less than 2 weeks ago, a similar ceremony took place in Montserrat. We are extremely pleased to be able to make these investments in port infrastructure, a significant contribution to fostering a strong ecosystem for enhanced resilience. This ecosystem comprises the necessary players, systems and services interacting to ensure greater supply and to meet demands for goods and services. Improved ports of entry like that planned for St. Vincent and the Grenadines are part of the trade ecosystem and can potentially lead to major and far-reaching positive impact by facilitating rising exports, enhanced logistics services, and connectivity between production and consumption. Economic exchange and market space can be expanded, employment increase, and of course, lives improve. The project is consistent with CDB's strategic objective of building production resilience and is in keeping with our poverty reduction mandate. The CDB remains a long-standing partner of the government, working collaboratively to create a more competitive economy. We are pleased that the government of the United Kingdom remains a committed development partner sharing this vision and is providing grant financing of £27.7 million to the Port Modernization project. The project commenced with a CDB-funded port rationalization and development study in 2015 and the UKSIF financed technical assistance and will facilitate the modernization and expansion of the Kingstown seaport, as Lenski just explained. The project will be completed in 2 phases and will improve border security, increase revenue, trade, and economic activity, and strengthen overall efficiency in seaport operations. It will provide a structurally safe working environment with increased capacity to accommodate larger shipping vessels, provide greater storage space, and contribute to enhanced operability. According to the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, UNCTAD, while maritime trade contracted in 2020, developing economies of Asia and Oceania accounted for 62% of world port container traffic, while developing countries accounted for only 26%. The Caribbean has a tiny fragment of the global shipping pie. However, opportunities abound for the region if we continue, as is being done here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, to invest in our port infrastructure. The bank, in this regard, will continue to support these initiatives, recognizing that the sea transport industry is vital for socioeconomic growth and development, while also stimulating foreign investment and international trade. Implementation of CDB's country strategies remain focused on initiatives which will re-engineer growth, enhance human and social development, and improve physical infrastructure while preserving the environment and building climate resilience. As the region continues to close the gaps to the Sustainable Development Goals, we have been active in diverse sectors, providing necessary resources to fuel economic development while upholding environmental and social safeguards. Apart from the financing for the port, CDB's assistance to St. Vincent and the Grenadines covers a diverse portfolio, including education, social protection, transportation, economic and social infrastructure services, agriculture, disaster risk reduction, renewable energy and energy efficiency, and climate change adaptation. Once again, we are encouraged by the work of the government to advance the country's development, and we look forward to future collaboration as we transform lives and livelihood. We anticipate the successful implementation of this landmark project and the achievement of the intended objectives. We are confident that we will deliver this modern port and ancillary facilities in a spirit of cooperation and partnership, and we look forward to commissioning this new facility. Thank you.
Presentation, a very comprehensive presentation there from the Vice President of Operations of the Caribbean Development Bank, and the point that stood out there is the fact that this is the largest ever in the 52-year history of the CDB single project, over $100 million US, and they must have seen the vision in doing such a project, a very large project being undertaken, and we have our eye in the sky, and we'll be able to get some views of that shortly, but it's been quite an improvement in the weather since we started, and we're getting some sunshine now, and hopefully would allow for a smooth flow of the rest of the project. Dion?
Yes, we're going to see that in a while, but I just wanted to go back in terms of looking of the investment of CDB within recent times. They're also assisting with the rebuilding of nine schools here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Also, the partnership in the relocation from the residents of this community to the Lomans Bay area where they are right now. But we've just heard the call for the High Commissioner
to Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, friends, it's a great pleasure to be here, to be back here in St. Vincent once again this morning, to join our resident British Commissioner, Steve Moore, and his team, and with my colleague, Dr. Harriet Stone from Bridgetown, to be back here to celebrate this launch of the Kingstown Port Modernization project, and to say how proud I am that the United Kingdom is funding this project, Prime Minister, as your partner and as your friend. And I did particularly want to express my gratitude, in fact my admiration, for the way that you, Prime Minister, and your government have prioritised this vital project, even through all of the challenges of the last 2 years, including, of course, the devastating eruption of La Soufrière volcano and, of course, the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. You have recognised, Prime Minister, that this is a transformative project that will make the greatest possible difference to the lives of so many people in this country. And so it's been very important for us, as I say, as your friend and as your partner, to support St. Vincent and the Grenadines with this particular project, as we do work so closely in so many other areas. In January, we were particularly pleased to see the new homes in Lomans Bay being handed over to residents as part of the resettlement work for this project. And now we're eager to see the start of construction of this new cargo port and the road improvement works, which will do so much to boost economic development, to increase trade, to enhance climate resilience, and do so much for key sectors of the economy of this country, resulting in a more prosperous and more resilient St. Vincent and the Grenadines. As with all of the infrastructure projects that the United Kingdom is funding across the Caribbean through the UK Caribbean Infrastructure Fund, and I'm pleased to say that this is the biggest project that we're supporting in the Caribbean. Importantly, this project, as with all the others, has taken an integrated approach. It focuses not just on the building of the hard infrastructure in an environmentally friendly and sustainable way, but it also considers so many of the different needs of the people that this port will serve. And so we particularly commend the collaborative and open approach to the social aspects of this project and the wide consultation that's been undertaken with those people who will be affected, particularly during the resettlement process. This is such an important aspect of the process, focusing on the physical and economic vulnerabilities, as well as improving livelihoods, well-being, and quality of life. And so we are very pleased that as we officially come together today to launch this project, we can look forward to so many more opportunities for the men and women of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, particularly because of this project's focus on inclusion, equality, and well-being for women, young people, and persons with disability in so many sectors. I did just want to also take this opportunity to highlight the way that this project is part of our much wider partnership between the government of the United Kingdom and the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, a partnership that we have enjoyed for many decades and which continues to go from strength to strength. We work together in so many areas. We are supporting you here in St. Vincent to develop and strengthen health facilities, your climate and disaster resilience. We're working together on renewable energy, on youth skills, and on skills for persons with disabilities. We're helping you with social protection and providing assistance to develop this country's private sector through the Compete Caribbean Partnership Facility. And we're improving economic and financial management through the International Monetary Fund's Caribbean Regional Technical Assistance Centre, or CARTAC. And this project that we're here today to celebrate will be the centerpiece of our collaboration, which means so much to us, and I hope and believe it means so much to you too. And so today is an opportunity for us to renew the commitment between our two countries, and for me to say that the United Kingdom will continue to work in partnership with St. Vincent and the Grenadines to support your resilient growth and to support your key development priorities and to improve the lives and prosperity of the people of this country. We look forward to continuing that collaboration with the government here, as well as, of course, with our close and valued partners at the Caribbean Development Bank, to ensure the smooth and efficient delivery of this project, and indeed of all our development programs, so that the benefits can be fully realised. And so, indeed, this project, this modern port facility, will stand not just to deliver all of those benefits and advantages to this country for the years ahead, but it will also stand as a symbol of the friendship, the partnership between the United Kingdom and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Thank you very much.
We just heard from His Excellency Scott Footerson Wood, the High Commissioner to Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean. And as I was saying to you, Colvin, is that this is also their largest project. Their largest project yes, this is their largest capital project in the region and forever too. So this says something, that the magnitude and the significance of this project, and of course, as you said, the confident rapport in the government and people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines for the execution of same.
Yes, and to get where we are today, we must recognize the amount of work that went into this very location where we're at, and also the original port, which was done in the 60s. 12 million spent back in the 60s is quite a large sum compared to now, adjusted for inflation. And this will build on that and create a much more expansive operation to keep up with the modern times. So we'll have the next speaker now, the Honourable Julian Francis, the Minister responsible for seaports.
Thank you very much, Sion, established, and to welcome all of you here this morning to this very important ceremony. You will see we're ready for work. There's a tractor ready to be started, and there's a barge, compliments Econ, I believe, that is filled with material we can start reclaiming sea. And this project, following on the Argyle International Airport, as has been said by many speakers, is the second largest project, capital project, that we have done in St. Vincent as a Unity Labour Party government. The Argyle International Airport ran us about $750 million, and today we stand at about, in debt, anywhere between 250 and 300 million EC dollars. So you have a project that cost you 750 million with a value of over $1 billion, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines only owe $250,000 on it. As a former banker, therefore, in my consideration on this, CDB, and you've heard that they have made this loan, $110 million US, as the single largest loan that they have made ever since the CDB was established.
Over 50 years ago.
Over 50 years ago. And I hear from the British that their contribution to this project of 39 million US is the largest in this region. So something good must be happening in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. There is clear, defined leadership in this country, unambiguous, and prepared to take risk for the continued development of this little blessed nation. It so happened, Solo, that around the same time that this $110 million was approved, the smallest country ever to be elected to the UN Security Council with 185 votes to 6 was St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I don't want to say that influenced the CDB to think that, you know, they had to maintain the status that we have maintained. But I want to thank the representative, my good friend of many years. In fact, we were in local banking together in our younger days. Well, my younger days, he's still young. But when you have, the Bible tells you 70 is the average lifespan of man. And I extend that to some projects sometimes. And if that, what we have up there, the wharf, is about 70, that's the end of it, according to biblical words. We need to construct a bigger, better wharf and jetty. Could you imagine in 2025, 2024, that you see here in front of us 16 acres of reclaimed land with concrete and buildings on it? Just try to vision that. From Tokyo down to here, out into the sea, 6 hectares of land converted would run you about 16 acres. That's a large wharf. Some people try to figure out why we're spending so much money. There is need in the Caribbean for another transshipment port. Those of you in the shipping industry know the amount of time we have to wait, because Jamaica is one of the main transshipment ports. And in the last 2 years that we had serious setbacks in St. Vincent. This, with the additions that we are doing, because there are 2 other phases to be done, one intra-regional jetty and one inter-island jetty, that, well, wharfs, that will take all the other traffic. While we are starting to build this today, last week Monday, and this is to tell you the man that we have as Prime Minister of this country. Last Monday, investors from a friendly nation came here. From Saudi Arabia, and did a tour of that portion of Kingstown, where the existing wharf is now, for development. Because we don't want to wait until this wharf is finished to start to clean up there. To start to look for money to clean it up. Soon as this is ready and the first ship comes here, up there we start to wreck. So he sees way in advance of all his other contemporaries. And I really want you to put a welcome hand to Prime Minister. In CDB's assessment of this loan, I am sure, they consider other matters like financial institutions do. Does it make economic sense? I think they said yes to that. Is the government overburdened with debt and they can't service it? I will say that they are convinced that we have never really fell back on any of our payments for all the debts that we have. And I'm sure that was in your assessment of the, not only the CDB, but worldwide. And thirdly, or fourthly, stable government. Financial institutions don't want to lend to this sort of and make this sort of investment in a country where you have, as we say, it's carnival time, bacchanal every Monday morning. We have had a government led by Ralph Gonsalves for the last 22 years, 21 years, with no bacchanal inside the government. There is one leader and one leader only. The rest of us support him. If he comes with a project that we are not, we all have our inputs. We sit down and we trash it out in the cabinet. We don't go on radio and talk about it like others. And Prime Minister Gonsalves has, I think, he stands out in this Caribbean for leaders of these small countries. This project has a project steering committee headed by Laura Anthony Brown. She's not here today because she's overseas. But it's very impressive, the structure, the makeup of what is called the Project Modernization Unit, which is housed in the 3rd floor of Randy's supermarket building. Lenski, who spoke here today, is 36 years of age. The other members of the staff, except for Marlon, who is older than the rest, are all females and below the age of 36. Some significantly below. Qualified professionals. And I want them to stand. I think they're here somewhere, Lenski. Or they're on the other side. Or the outside. But I think this is something that, when you have young people like that running a project of this size, $600+ million. We had gotten a project manager, but I think geographic and weather and other things, it didn't quite work out. Lenski, as the assistant project manager, is now the acting project manager, and he will continue to be the acting project manager until we fill that position through the usual processes. So I want to congratulate them and also congratulate this government, because every single member Prime Minister of this crew, they're children of the education revolution. Every single one, from Lenski down, who is the oldest at 36. I think that's very impressive and says a lot for this government's approach to the development of young people in this country. I have every confidence. I am advised on a daily basis by Lenski, and I will continue to have full confidence in Lenski. If it means what I'm saying here today, that he will be considered for the permanent project manager, that is not in my category, that is not in my bowl, as somebody else's bowl, but I won't talk on it. So, our weather is not very good. It seems as if we're going to get the drizzles again. I believe I have said enough in my capacity. I want to say this. The Prime Minister, Honorable Ralph Gonsalves, took on the airport project. And it took a while. He knew what he went through with the airport project. But as he advances in experience and years, he figured this one is going to be a tough one too. Let me pass it on to Julian. So, but he is the brain behind it. I came in at the last minute when all this was done and decisions were made. I give the commitment, along with Lenski and his crew, Akon and Celon. I believe, I haven't met with them. I met with the project manager, Tam Smith. But I believe everybody knows the way I go about getting work done. And there'll be long hours ahead of us. But I look forward to a prompt start and a perfect finish. And I want it finished by 2024. Very important. Okay.
25.
Huh?
25.
I said 24, Prime Minister.
All right.
There are dissenting voices on this project. Lenski gave you a full outline as to the approach to this project. Every single project affected person has been looked at. Lenski and his team and others have had numerous consultations, and any little slip here or there, they try to make it into a Russia-Ukraine war. But they have tried, and in my closing, the opposition in this country has objected and not supported every single development project that we have brought to this country that we successfully completed. So they can talk as much as they want now. This one's starting, and we're going to finish it by 2024. Okay? I send that for the opposition. I just want to say this. Come the 7th of July, Carnival ends on the 5th. The 7th of July, the contractors take possession of this road and this site from Korea's Hazels, the road to go into the bridge in Tokyo. There is a traffic plan that has been accepted in most part. There's some little refinements to go here and there. There will be inconveniences. It is not going to be what you're accustomed to. You wouldn't be able to drive on this road at all from the 7th of July. So I want and I appeal to Vincentians, this project is an important economic project for the further development of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And I solicit your support. All the details would be in the media between now and the 7th of July. And the traffic police will be in assistance, and signs will be put up as to where you can drive and where you can't drive. Thank you very much, and may God bless us all and have blessings on this project. Thank you.
Minister of Urban Development, Energy, Airports, Seaports, Grenadines Affairs and Local Government. And one of the parts of this project that I want to highlight is the work based on the presentation which the Minister made, the segments of the projects which have been completed thus far. On the 3rd of May, there was the signing in respect to the Lot 1 of the project, which is the design, build, construction works contract, the primary cargo port facility, and this is done with Acon Construction and to the tune of EC $460 million. The second component of that is the design review and the construction supervision consultancy contract with Selhorn, which the Minister alluded to. This is valued at EC 10.97. They're up next to speak, the Acon Construction Company, Mr. Marty Harris. Let's take you back to the lectern.
Always appreciate a challenge. We will do our best. Good morning, Prime Minister, other members of the St. Vincent government, including the Ministry of Urban Development, Energy, Airports and Seaports, and other representatives from the government, members of the Caribbean Development Bank, the United Kingdom, Scott Wood and his team, our consultant partners, and members of the community. My name is Marty Harris. I'm the Executive Lead and Senior Vice President for Civil Operations at Acon. We are very excited and honored to be here today, and I'm proud to be representing Acon as we celebrate the much anticipated construction launch of the Kingstown Port Modernization Project. I'm also thrilled to be here on the start of your Carnival weekend. We heard some of that last night. And for many of you, if you don't know, today is actually Canada Day, our national holiday, and I'm very pleased to be representing Canada as part of our delegation here today. As we gather beside the site that will soon begin to transform itself into Kingston's new world-class cargo terminal, we're marking the first of many milestones to come on the project. First of all, I'm very happy to see that our first piece of equipment showed up overnight. We rushed it to get here for the photo op. Very happy about that, and we're very looking forward to getting things moving. But this is the moment where we formally move from imagination to expert delivery to create a modernized facility that will serve the people, businesses, government, and international trade stakeholders of St. Vincent and the Grenadines for decades to come. We are thrilled to bring AECON's proven expertise to St. Vincent and the Grenadines and to partner with the people and leaders of this great country to deliver and build this important infrastructure. As some of you may know, AECON is Canada's leading construction and infrastructure company. We're proud to have played a role in building many of Canada's infrastructure landmarks, including the CN Tower and Toronto's Pearson Airport. We have also delivered many international projects, including the Cross-Israel Highway, the Quito International Airport in Ecuador, and most recently, the award-winning Bermuda International Airport. We take great pride in delivering these large and complex projects, but that pride for us is compounded when it involves delivering projects of international significance and in a way that is intertwined with the community. At AECON, we simply don't build infrastructure. We build long-term partnerships, which will be critical to the success of this project. In fact, partnerships are our way of life, and the best projects are the ones where we work collaboratively with our clients, our subcontractors, and the local community. And we look forward to that here. Over the past couple years, we have built several positive and constructive relationships with Vincentian people, Vincentian businesses, and various local communities. And we look forward to broadening and deepening these connections for years to come. We are excited to move on to the next stage together with our project partners and all of our stakeholders. Currently, we're in complex design works, and the equipment that you see out here is actually part of the initial design requirements, so we can do some studies and progress our design. And that will take us through the end of this year. Those visible geotechnical investigations will start next week, and you will start to see real heavy civil construction in early 2023, and we're going to put a rush on that. I feel the pressure. We do have an expected completion in 2.5 years. This new state-of-the-art climate resilient port will be over 6 hectares, and this upgraded infrastructure will significantly improve port services for the government of St. Vincent. It will also significantly enhance economic opportunities and access to goods and services while creating valuable employment opportunities on the island with ourselves and with our consultants, I'm sure. Ultimately, we want St. Vincent and the Grenadines to maximize the positive benefits of this important project. And AECON is here to deliver this project safely, most importantly safely, sustainably and efficiently with the betterment of the island top of mind. Finally, I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to everyone involved with the project team, including our own team, and also the tireless efforts of the government who have been championed by Miss Lori Anthony Brown, and it's unfortunate that she's not here today, and the tireless work of Mr. Douglas. It is thanks to your dedication and commitment that we are here today, breaking ground on this exciting new project. AECON is honored to be here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and we look forward to the next several years and really looking forward to commissioning and opening this port. Thank you.
Remarks there from the contractor, Mr. Marty Harris, Executive Lead and Senior Vice President of AECON Construction Group, Inc. out of Canada. Thank you very much. And interestingly, there is a Canadian connection with our current port, as back in the 60s when the investments were made, the Canadian government, at that time, had a hand in the financing of that project in the Kingstown Harbour, and they invested $2 million at the time. And it's interesting to know that we're building a modern port, and there's still that Canadian connection, though a private one. We maintain that level of connection with Canada. And the other agency involved, the Selhorn Investments out of Germany. So you see the expertise of all of these different entities coming into play here for the construction of this modern port. I believe now we have the rep from Selhorn, the supervision consultant rather.
With Selhorn Ingenieurgesellschaft, it just means engineering company in German. But good morning, everyone. It's always a pleasure to come to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and thank you for everyone helping on organizing this project launch ceremony, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to say a few words. Today is the day we are all looking forward to the construction of a new modern port for St. Vincent and the Grenadines. But before looking into the future, I would like to also take this opportunity and reflect on the many steps which was needed to get to this point and the agencies and people who made it possible. Initial work on this project started now more than 12 years ago in 2010. I should point out that this is documented work, of course, long before this planning on replacing the existing port must have already started. From 2010, the port rationalization and development study was done, which resulted in a final master plan in early 2015. This study determined the position and the size of the port required to serve the future needs of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Shortly thereafter, in 2016 to 2017, a rescoping study of the master plan was done to further refine the port requirements and the recommended phasing. In 2018, Zalon became involved with the final feasibility study that included the technical, financial, and economical feasibility of the project, the social and environmental impacts, and also the climate resilience study. These studies, being technically challenging, of course, also had additional external challenges with the ongoing pandemic and also the eruption of Mount Soufriere in April 2021. All this work finally culminated in the tendering of the project and the selection of Aecon, a leader in construction and infrastructure development, as the most advantageous contractor for the construction of the new port. The success of this project, of course, does not only rely on a single person or entity, and many agencies and persons worked tirelessly over these years to bring the project this far. I do not believe the ceremony offers sufficient time for me to list all the people involved. I would like to thank every expert, engineer, economist, financial analyst, and technician that worked over the last 10 years to bring the project this far. The main agencies I would also like to emphasize is, of course, the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Port Authority, the Ministry of Urban Development, Energy, Airports, Seaports, Grenadines Affairs and Local Government, and the Caribbean Development Bank and UK CIF. It should be understood that, of course, the funding agencies are not just also providing the financing, but also employ their own experts and engineers to ensure that studies are done properly. Going into the construction stage, Zalon is honored to have been selected as the engineer and is highly invested in successfully working with the Ministry and Aecon on this project and to maybe potentially reach 2024 with completion. Socially and gender inclusive, more environmentally friendly, and that will allow for the cargo, import and export growth required for the next generation of Vincentians. At the very least, this project will increase the size of St. Vincent by a few hectares. Thank you very much.
We've just heard the representative from the Selhorn, the project manager, the company based in Germany, where it's just about 4:30 or so in Germany. So it would be Guten Tag, Guten Morgen mean good morning, and Guten Noche mean Guten Noche mean good night. So it's Guten Tag because it's good afternoon in Germany. And as I was alluding to the last time I spoke, the design and review and the construction supervision consultancy, this is what they're doing as part of this project, and this is what we are here for. Based on the program that we have, we expected to have some entertainment at this particular point.
Yes.
But just to say so far, the intricacies surrounding the construction of this project in terms of those who are financing this, of course, is a big undertaking for the representatives of the various donor agencies, the funding agencies, in addition to the government as well having a great stay in this project. The government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, as part of this project, had to do some relocation, and they set $4.8 million was spent building the houses for persons who were relocated.
Yes.
They had dwelling structures of 1-bedroom houses, 2-bedroom houses, and 3-bedroom houses. And the other component of that is that you'll have some relocation as it relates to stores and some of the vendors. doubt, I'm sure the Prime Minister will use the opportunity to get into a lot of that into his presentation. But we've been speaking for a bit throughout the morning. There's a bit of entertainment, so we're going to take you stateside.
Me sweet little island St. Vincent, I love you St. Vincent, home of the blessed St. Vincent, St. Vincent, St. Vincent, I love you. Can look at the sunrise, can look at the sunset. Sweet Mother Nature, such beauty, such splendor. Can live my life without fear. Freedom to go anywhere. You got love, and you got peace. From Lasso Frere to the Grenadines, I love you, St. Vincent. Me sweet little island, St. Vincent. I love you, St. Vincent. Home of the blessed St. Vincent. St. Vincent, St. Vincent, I
Amazing stuff.
Alston,
Amazing stuff.
Beckett, Cyrus, St. Vincent, I lovely appropriate music
Yes.
for the occasion,
Yes.
and expertly executed by
executed.
the Lan Bristol of the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force Band. Colvin?
Yes, there was a gust of wind halfway through his presentation, and he so expertly caught his pan before it fell and picked up the notes and was able to carry on in sync with the music. I mean, that's extraordinary.
That's what you call a skilled pan man.
That's skill. That's a skillful performance. But we have the Honorable Prime Minister speaking up next. And just to add to where you mentioned where the 47 households are relocated, there's also the vendors that were compensated and moved from this seawall area back in 2020. That was some 2 years ago, well in advance after the contract was signed. And since then, quite a lot of changes have been effected to make way for this development. And we're getting ready now for the Honorable Prime Minister who will be addressing us. But we can both relate to the developments surrounding this project. And as you see now, a live shot of our location, the reclamation site, the lower part of the reclamation site, at the very end of where the earlier reclamation was done. And we heard from the project manager acting that where the new modern port will be built will be on reclaimed land. So we'll not be utilizing the prime business seafront area, but we create a new land. That shot you're seeing there of Rose Place, that land will be reclaimed in order to place the new infrastructure, and it should be quite a spectacular site once completed. The Honourable Prime Minister will now address those gathered here, and we hope that you continue to stay with us.
Thank you very much
of this broadcast.
Sian. I want first to acknowledge the presence of my cabinet colleagues, His Excellency the High Commissioner of the United Kingdom of Britain to Barbados and the countries in the Eastern Caribbean, including St. Vincent and the Grenadines, my friend Scott, and of course his team, our sister Renee Baptiste, who is the Speaker of the OECS Assembly. We have representatives here from CDB, Isaac Solomon, who I'm really happy to see is Vice President at the CDB. And our friends, representatives from Ceylon, even though Akon is at the start of the alphabet, Ceylon has been around with us a little while longer, so I have to give appreciation to Ceylon. And Akon, out of Canada, very happy to see that the Canadian company won it. I didn't have anything to do with that. That's an independent bidding process. But we have a lot of incentives in Canada, and we know they send home some remittances, so I'm very happy to see that a Canadian company is making some money. But the Italians also invest here, so. And Linsky on behalf of the project and everyone who is here with us today, and those who are listening to us on radio and who probably seen this streaming on one or the other of the media platforms. A lot of information has been given out thus far, and I will provide some more information about this project. But I will only seek to emphasize some of what has been said before, because I've listened to every speech, and everything which has been said by everyone, I adopt what has been said and call what has been said my own, and I will seek to add value to the discussion by way of a framework, maybe bits and pieces of additional information, and an emphasis on important data presented thus far. I want to begin by thanking the British government for their $36 million grant to this project. Now sometimes you may hear me say 35 million, 36, it may go 37. It really depends on the rate of exchange. And I want to thank the successive British governments. Initially, this UK Caribbean Investment Fund program was initiated by the government of David Cameron, and wherever he is, I want to say thanks to him, and I hope that Scott will transmit our thanks. I want to say thanks also to his successors, Theresa May, who didn't pull the plug on what had already been agreed upon, and it would have been open to her to pull the plug. And so to Boris Johnson, the current Prime Minister, and I know from Camilo, who was in Kigali, Rwanda, at the Commonwealth Heads of Government Conference. At one of the dinners, Camilo and Boris sat at the same table, and Camilo expressed thanks and gratitude to the government and people of the United Kingdom for this grant. You know, it is in the nature of modern news how they spread. The good news don't often get told, or you have some difficulty in getting the good news told nowadays, particularly when an item comes up in the news, if it is juicy and salacious. The Facebook warriors get hold of it. In my constituency, which is a rural constituency, the farmers tell me they don't bother with Facebook, they call it Commerce Book. But I remember very well the year when David Cameron went to Jamaica to announce the SIF grant to Jamaica. And I'm sorry, I saw him hours before he went. He was at the UN. And we had a discussion. And he told me about he was going there to announce the portion of the grant to Jamaica. Remember, he did a Caribbean visit. Had he told me that he was going to talk about the prison, I'd ask him to talk to Portia Simpson Miller, that even though you all had agreed on that, maybe you just announce the grant without say what it is going to, because it caused quite a storm. Because the idea was that they were building a prison to have Jamaicans who are in jail in England to be put in a jail in Jamaica. And you know, that whole commerce blight the SIF in the eyes of people who didn't know what the SIF was about. Today, publicly, we can say, as St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and I can say it, as the longest serving Prime Minister in the Caribbean, I thank the British government for the Caribbean investment fund, its conceptualization, and its delivery. And here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we are getting free a grant. This is not reparations money. We're talking reparations separately. This is something different. A grant of nearly 100 million Eastern Caribbean dollars to this project. Thanks from the bottom of my heart. So that I hope all those who castigated the SIF, that we will rescue it from castigation and bring it into the sunshine of approval. This is a good initiative by David Cameron, good for it to have been continued by Theresa May, and splendid for Boris to maintain it. Thanks very much. I also want to thank the Caribbean Development Bank. Now, the number is $110 million US. The single largest loan that the CDB has ever given to one single project in its 50-odd-year history. Well, that tells you an important story about the importance of this project and CDB's, the manifestation of CDB's mission from its founding in 1970 to help to develop the Caribbean, the CARICOM countries. It has not been easy in the negotiation of that loan. And part of the loan, in order to get it done, as Isaac knows, I don't want to talk all the details. We have to have part of the loan denominated in euros. And in that regard, we're taking a little hedge there, because I don't know whether it will cost us a little bit more, depending on what happened to the euro. And a lot of things can go awry. But if I have to gamble, take a risk in 2022, Isaac, or in 2020, when this loan was approved, if I had to take it with Europe, I take it. And that's where we are. We can't live in a perfect world. But I believe that after Europe has come out from its difficulties, that's why I walk in my pocket this morning with $100 euros. It was worth more 2 weeks ago than it's worth now. I'm hoping it doesn't slide more. Burns, you understand these other things you have to do and how you have to keep them in mind? Yes. Now, Isaac Solomon was when I came to office in 2001, he was budget director. And then he told me after a couple of years that he wanted to go to the central bank. I said, fine. And then he went on to be in charge of the Eastern Caribbean operations of Royal Bank. But from the beginning, I'd asked him to serve on the board of LIAT. And he and I were close in trying to save LIAT. And that's a conversation which we're going to have in CARICOM in a couple of days' time. Well, part of CARICOM. Well, not save LIAT so much as what we're going to do with regional air transportation. And when you read on Facebook and the propagandists that Ralph has political appointee on the board, the political appointee is Isaac Solomon, the man who is considered good enough to be vice president of the CDB. You see, Clayton, they don't understand what they're talking about. They just have to ask questions. That was the man all the time on top of the board. So we have to speak the facts. Of course, I've spoken these facts before, but it would go through one year and come out the next. Or sometimes, as old people in my village say, when I'm talking, the brakes stick in their ears so that they wouldn't hear. But I have to speak the truth. And of course, the Republic of China and Taiwan, there's a gap of 62 million. And I received last week the agreement, because they gave the approval which we had sent to CDB for everything to be concluded and to the British, and everything was fine. But I have the actual agreement now. And the Attorney General's office has said the agreement is in good shape, so do the Director General of Finance and Planning. The Attorney General, I think, is issuing the opinion today. And he having issued his opinion in writing to me, I will sign and get it, hopefully, to the Taiwanese embassy today, to be sent off to Taiwan, for the bank in Taiwan to sign it. And I gave the Attorney General instructions to prepare the bill in relation to this loan to go to Parliament on the 25th of July. So I want all the other financiers to know that I'm doing every single part of my work. And for those persons who are elected from the opposition side, we debated this issue already at the time of the budget. But I'm giving you an opportunity to debate it again and ventilate all the issues in Parliament concerning this project, every single component, so that a democratic people, a free people, will hear through their representatives in Parliament all what is to be said on this. And then I am absolutely 100% sure that the bill would be passed and the democratic will of the people would be satisfied. And if you still grumble about it, when it is finished here in 2025 and the elections come in November, December 2025, or whenever date in 2025, I want you who oppose it now to come down in Rose Place to ask people for the vote when you argue against the port. I want you to do that. You notice how I'm doing it? in a proper manner. I am not afraid of any debate on any public policy which we have taken a decision. And I want all our partners to know that this government functions in that thoroughly democratic way. Now, over 600 million Eastern Caribbean dollars. Because we also have to put in money for the equipment. And in our evolution, in our assessment of this project, for all its dimensions, including the equipment and other costs, we are prepared to go up to $42 million. That's US denomination. We have factored in everything. I say up to. I'm not saying that that's what we're going to spend. But we have already spent a whole heap of money from our local funds on those aspects which we have to fund. We are funding naturally our project, our port project management unit, in which Linsky is involved and Laura Anthony Brown and other persons. But that's not all for the local side of it. I have a broad base project management committee overseeing it, reporting to the minister, and naturally they have to report also to me, not only because I have Prime in front of my name, but because of the importance of this project. And then we spent $4.8 million to build 40-odd houses at Lomans. Now, those of you who don't know where the houses are should go over there. It's a beautiful view of the sea. You know, historically, it's middle class and upper class people, to use the class categories. They normally reserve those kind of lands for them, you know. But we gave the fisher folk and their families. You know, I'll give a statistic. The structures in which persons were living there, the aggregate assessed value of those structures was $275,000. Some persons say that was a generous assessment of those structures. It wasn't required of the British or the Caribbean Development Bank for us to do what we did there, you know. We could have taken care of them by giving them compensation for what they had and give them 6 months' money to go and pay rent for somewhere. But that is not how this government functions. However ramshackle the structure might have been, you sleep in there by yourself, or you do in there with your woman, I want you to sleep by yourself. I want you to do. I want you to wrap up and I want you to hug up in a very good house. 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, depending on the size of the family. And I am not asking you to pay 1 cent. You sign an occupancy agreement already, and very shortly you're going to get the deed for it in your hand, free. You hear me? That is the way of this government. You see, some people don't understand this. If you have in your heart, as the good book says, if you have in your heart an abundance of love, an abundance of love does what? That abundance of love maketh the mouth speak accordingly. And when the mouth speaks accordingly, policy and program must flow from what the mouth speaketh, and the source of it is an abundance of love in your heart. That is why $4.8 million up there to take care of the persons who are living at the beach down here at Rose Place. And the same thing is happening, as Linsky Douglas pointed out, for all the other categories of affected persons. And those, this one is mine? Okay, I wasn't so sure if you see I'm drawing from it. Because I got COVID just now, the other day, I had to make sure. No. And I say to persons on the bay, by the way, no, Isaac, of the 35 persons down there with fishing boat, whether a boat is operational or not, we give you $13,000 to improve your boat, in addition to other monies. And we pay for whatever shed you have there. And we see that you're relocated somewhere else. But there are some persons who, you might have somebody who's a captain on a boat down there. Because you know boats are small, pirogues and the like. You got 3-4 persons on a boat. I'm talking about the registered ones. You might have a captain, or you might have a crew member who really want to own a boat themselves. And we are giving them an opportunity if they want to own a boat themselves. CDB is not asking us about that. The British not asking us about that. We have a program which we set up with the KCCU, the Kingstown Cooperative Credit Union. Low rate interest, Isaac. But what we do, we put aside 20% of the money from the government towards the loan, and you ain't paying back the government money yet, you're not paying the 100% fully. You pay the 80% back to the KCCU at a modest rate of interest. And when that's done, we go talk about the 20%. And once you get a boat, I hope Bugs hearing me, you know. Bugs are here, my partner Bugs. I hope Bugs hearing me. You know, Bugs was on the opposition platform down there. They had before Carnival, they had a Carnival tent. You know, only that they didn't have many people at the tent. 67 people went to the tent that night. But the leader of the opposition talk, and the other two fellas there, Leacock and Cummins, they talk like Bugs spitting them out. This is my local politics, Your Excellency. But I'm saying to my brethren Bugs, I hear you want to come and see the comrade. Easy. Just come up and give Angie a day. I come back on Wednesday from CARICOM. Thursday or Friday that week, you can pass by, and me and you go talk. Me and you go talk about the boat, or anything relating to this matter. Because we come with an abundance of love in our heart. That is how we do it. And I want to repeat what I said several times already. I want to talk directly to the children and grandchildren of the people who are living on the beach, who had sheds, those for the 35 persons with those boats, or the unregistered boats. As you know, Burns, so a couple of old fellas in a rowboat, one in the bow, one in the stern, you know how that go. Some of them have a 14-foot or a 17-foot boat with a single engine. We just call them up over here. Seagull. They call them seagull engine. They get in compensation too, you know. Isaac is everybody, you know. And if we were having election next month, you might say, Ralph plucking the chicken. But we ain't got election. That is normal for the ULP. The children and grandchildren of all the persons. And I want you to listen to me carefully. You pass the Caribbean Primary Exit Assessment exam to go to secondary school, or you're in secondary school, or you're going to the community college, come by the office. Ask for Angie or Rutan. My office. And you bring your boat, they let you bring the boat certificate and the letter or the slip from the school. Not only we will take care of you with uniforms and those things, I'll make sure every month you will get some money to pay for the bus fare and to buy lunch. You hear what I'm telling you? And you go in university. You're going open campus here. If you come into the open campus, all you need, depending on the course, $10,000, a little more, and a laptop. I'll pay your tuition. Not 1 year. For the 3 years, I'll make sure you get a laptop. Isaac, I'm raising the standards of safeguards, you know. Because, you see this, Burns? I want to see the children and grandchildren of the fishermen, fisher folk. Some of them may wish to continue in the fishing business, which is big business. I want to see them rising in the port to be an engineer in charge of operations, to be the human resources manager, to be supervisors, to operate the sophisticated equipment, Clayton, not the ordinary forklift, but the big stackers. And one of the children or grandchildren whom we'll be helping may end up being the chief executive officer of Port Kingstown, modern one down here at Rose Place, when it comes into being. You see the vision? No. We have to, in addition to building the port, because the study which was done earlier had 4 components. The most expensive one was this port, which Aecon building, and the associated facilities, and there are 2 other segments, the associated facilities like the roads and so on. 2 other aspects, as Julian pointed out, for the regional ferries as a ferry berth, and also for the Grenadines, those just come up from the Grenadines now. Because I want to move, when this thing is done and we do that other phase, I want to move the Grenadines wharf from there to down here too. Because I want to leave up there for cruise ships. Where the car boat comes, the vision we have there is to put another cruise ship here. And we have plenty land up there, and some could be reclaimed for shops, businesses, health and wellness facilities, and so on and so forth, to take advantage of the cruise ship business. The cruise ship business, very important business. I remember the leader of the previous government, even though he built up a cruise ship here, said cruise ship tourism consisted essentially of 3 P's. Postcard, Pepsi, and the other P. That is always they left in the country. Maybe that's why they build the thing so small up there. But we want to see up there develop too. And that's why we are looking for the investors, and that's why the investors came from the Saudi fund. And down here, on Back Street, you see those old buildings which are broken down, the wooden structures, to the back of the hospital. We bought those places, you know. Government owns them. Inside of them, Orlando Brewster from Social Development already had a study done and we gave approval in cabinet. They're identifying lands, and we go in those families, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom. I think there's 1 3 bedroom for those 13 families. And that part we are going to develop as part of the whole development plan of Rose Place. So we'll be fixing up down here and up where the port is, the current port. And in between, Little Tokyo, where when that was built, I have a document here which Camilo prepared called Improving the Kingstown Bus Terminal. Maybe right at the moment as we're talking here, our representative on the board of Alba Bank, Dr. Thompson, is formally presented this in pursuance of the agreement which I had 9 weeks ago with President Maduro to get $5 million US to fix up Little Tokyo. And also today, again, I want the fishermen to hear, another document which Camilo prepared, Solidarity Fishing Fleet, that's what it's called. The one with KCCU and the government is for the pirogue types. This one will be $4 million US, where we will go more up market with the fleet. So if Bugs even want a bigger one, you can wait until I get this money. You understand how this government functioning? You see how the vision coming together? This port, which we had to build there, the leader of the opposition said in his speech, long by the introductory tent, which they had. I call it a tent because Abijah chaired the meeting and Patches ended it. You know that great leader, Patches? He ended it. He said, the leader of the opposition, he said he didn't hear anybody say what would be the benefit of this port to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. You think he was somewhere under a stone, living all the time in Beckway? I talk about it so much time. The CDB talk about it. The British talk about it. It was debated in Parliament, he heard it. But I don't know. But you hear again today. This port up here in Port Kingstown, over 60 years old. We had to patch it, it's falling apart. And the one which they built over in the 1990s at Camden Park, they built it too small, and they didn't build it properly. What we will have to do with that one is to make it available for the private sector, local or regional, who want to use it as an entry point for an entrepot destination for goods to come in here, goods and supplies, and to be transshipped from here elsewhere to other parts of the OECS. So the opportunities would be there. And I want to end by locating this within the framework of the type of economy which we are building. You know, the British came here in 1763, consequent upon the Treaty of Paris. There was a carve-up of territories in the Eastern Caribbean between the British and the French. And the British, for better or for worse, they got St. Vincent and the Grenadines. From that time until the sunset years of the 20th century, we had a colonial type economy or an amended colonial type economy. What were a few of the striking features of that type of economy? First, it was built on unlimited supplies of cheap labor. At one period up to 1838, there was unfree labor, slavery. Thereafter, very cheap labor. That's one defining feature. Secondly, was dependent largely, dominantly, on one agricultural crop. Sugar, cotton, arrowroot, bananas. And those commodities were subsidized locally and or given market preferences overseas, particularly in the United Kingdom, like for instance the bananas. But those preferences came to an end. Different economy, different world situation. So we have to build a modern, competitive, many-sided, that is to say very diversified post-colonial economy, which is at once national, regional, and global. To build such an economy, you need, first of all, an unlimited supply of skilled labor, educated labor. That's why it's post-colonial. First, and that's why we needed to have an education revolution. That's why. Secondly, you're not going to have preferences. We are all part of the WTO. So, our economy has to produce goods and services competitively, Isaac. And it can't only be one thing, it has to be many things. And that's why we needed an international airport, because you can't have tourism without an international airport. And that's why we needed a jet airport in Kingstown. That's why we needed the roads and to connect North Windward with the rest of the country. That's why we needed the Rabaka Bridge and the road network. And that's why we need the health and housing revolutions. And that's why you need a port, a modern port, which is essential to a modern, competitive, many-sided post-colonial economy. We are an import-export country. We have to have a modern and efficient port. Can't go do it like what we're doing it now. And as Julian pointed out, we need other port facilities in the region to help us, given all the supply chain problems which we are having. I think I've spoken enough, and you'll hear more about this as we go along. And tune in on July the 25th. I'm looking forward to that debate. Yes. I'm looking forward to it. And thank you for coming. And thank Almighty God for all his blessings to us. We are not, despite all our challenges, which Scott mentioned, despite all our challenges, we are not a people of lamentations. We are a people of resilience. Morning by morning, new mercies we see. All that we need, thy hand has provided. Great is thy faithfulness. Thank you very much.
Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Ralph Gonsalves concluding the featured address at the ceremony this morning for the launch of the port modernization project, ending in the way that we have known him to do within recent times. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. And if you should then go right back to the beginning of his presentation, where he of course walks through the inputs from the various stakeholders who are contributing significantly to the development of this project, and some of the other works which had to go in place for all of this to come to fruition this morning. Remember, of course, we mentioned that this is a three-pronged process, and this is just the first primary phase, lot one, the primary phase of this project. And of course, the benefits which would redound in terms of the transformation of Kingstown and the transformation of what is known as the intra-ferry and, of course, the cruise ship terminal. The vote of thanks is taking place. We're going to take you to the stage for that to hear who are some of the persons involved.
Yes, we're actually having the vote of thanks.
I see that, that our colleagues are saying that we can probably continue.
Yes.
So go ahead, Colin, sorry.
Yes, well, we have the MC announced, the master ceremonies announced earlier, well, just before this vote of thanks, that there will be a brief ceremonial turning of the soil and a project launch, a formal project launch. So we'll have that shortly. He asked all of the photographers and all the media persons to position themselves to get their shots there. But it's been quite a ceremony. We had some rain in between, a bit of a wind, sometimes a strong gust that blew across, but quite an occasion to celebrate this important milestone, the second largest capital investment to be constructed thus far in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, with the largest investment coming from the CDB, the Caribbean Development Bank, and also the British government through UK Aid and other stakeholders, all the other stakeholders, the Republic of China, Taiwan also involved in it. And we heard from all of the stakeholders here this morning, and it promises to be quite a spectacular facility once completed, projected to be 2024, 2025, that time frame.
Yeah, that's the window.
For phase one, and that's just phase one of the project. Phases 2 and 3 being the relocation of the Grenadines Wharf, as we know it, that caters for the transit between the Grenadines Islands, and those will be done in the latter part of the project. But this particular part being the most expensive portion of it, the actual primary cargo facility, as it's called, the primary cargo facility, and we look forward to the commencement of the works next week, where the works will commence officially here. This road that we're actually sitting on at the moment would no longer be accessible, and you can keep listening in the coming days for the traffic rearrangements. You heard it was mentioned that the site will be cordoned off to allow for the construction to move apace and the project to commence formally. Just across from where we are broadcasting, there's a barge that's sitting there, and we heard mention of it earlier, that is there to facilitate the construction, or the commencement of the construction.
And
we have a shot of it as we do a flyby. Our eye in the sky is pretty much on the ball this morning, and as you can see, the aggregate already loaded onto that barge and ready for a prompt start to everything here. There's actually an excavator that is sitting right at the side of the stage as well, which will have a formal cutting of the ribbon there to signify the official commencement of the construction, and from what we've been told, this will move at a pace.
And this, of course, is the excavator that is now on screen, and the ribbon there is symbolic. That's where they will be the cutting there, and we'll see that in just a short while. So I just want to go back to some of the things which the Prime Minister mentioned in terms of how the fishing boat and the fishers were incorporated as part of this project. 35 registered fishing boat operators are being compensated under this project. Small shop owners are being compensated as well for structure, loss of business, and timely bourses for early removal. Storage owners, not necessarily associated with fishing, but they are being compensated under the project.
Thank you, Carmen. Carmen. I'm building a bridge. God give me a plan. He promised me He gonna raise my hand. I'm building it high. I'm building it low. I'm building a bridge. God give me a plan. He promised me He go hold my hand. I'm building a bridge. God give me a plan.
Well, we're back with you, not on the program, but I think these are the things that make the moment. This was not something that was factored in terms of a script or anything, but there is a senior citizen who is showing her overwhelming support and appreciation for what has happened this morning. And no doubt that is the sentiment which is being redounded by most Vincentians, whether at home or abroad, in terms of the positiveness, the positive things that can come out of this particular project. And you have to see the vision. You have to look. This is not something that you would see immediately if you come down to the site. This is not something that you're going to see, but you have to picture it and to know that this is something 2024, 2025, this is something that is going, and the transformation that is going to take place at this particular site. So our team is there.
Yes,
and of course we will have that for you.
Turning of the sod,
yes,
the soil.
Yes.
On the reclamation site, the backdrop, the barge loaded with aggregate and other materials for the commencement of construction. And we have in a bird's eye view now of the setup for this particular portion of the event. In the back you see Rose Place as we know it, and in a few years from now it would not be recognizable because of the many changes planned for that region. The reclamation to be done there would certainly expand and extend the amount of land available to facilitate the construction of this new modern facility, as the Prime Minister refers to it, not a new facility but a modern facility. And I think this is interesting how the ribbon will actually be cut on this particular occasion, but let's see what is the plan here. I see the excavator operators positioned the bucket of the excavator to do the symbolic turning of the soil here at the reclamation site, and symbolic cutting the ribbon himself in the process. That's interesting.
Yes.
So it wasn't physically cut by someone, but just through the operation, and a symbolic lifting of one of the stones that are along the seawall, and this signifying the very first in a long journey ahead in the construction of this new or modern facility, I should say, here in Kingstown. The weather has turned out brilliant so far since we've started, and quite the occasion here on the waterfront in Kingstown. The contract for this project, of course, signed on May 3rd, just about 2 months ago, for the primary area, the Lot 1, which is what we are commencing today. And on Wednesday of next week, we'll have the area here being no longer accessible to the public. The equipment will move in, and all of the other ancillary equipment and services will come into place for a quick progression of events over the next couple of years. You'll see a lot of work happening over the next couple of years as part of Lot 1, the primary cargo facility. And I think the excavator operator is going a bit above and beyond to show that work is underway, and we can expect the work to move apace over the coming years. In 2024, 2025, we expect the completion of Lot 1, and beyond that, the completion of Lots 2 and 3, Phases 2 and 3 for the relocation of the Grenadines Wharf. And you heard the Prime Minister mention the proposal for that particular part of Kingstown to be accommodative of even another pier for even more cruise ship arrivals and for those who are in the food industry, etc. But quite an occasion.
Well, if we're to begin to wrap up what we're doing in terms of some of the main pointers which came out this morning, and I believe that the Prime Minister is on the move and will go through and greet the members of the business community who have been invited to this event. So the building of a modern container port and the ancillary facilities, that is basically what we were gathered here on site for this morning. So to recap, 620 million dollars funded by most soft loans, one of 110 million of which will come from the CDB, and of course we're speaking about US dollars. 35 million in grant from the UK government, 62 million in loan from the bank in the Republic, China, Taiwan, and the money from the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And we also have to put into context the 4.8 million which was spent by the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines to relocate persons from this particular area to where they are. And earlier on in our broadcast, we showed you the new housing settlement which has been created for them.
Yes.
And so now we anticipate what's going to happen. So these are all the stakeholders in terms of
yes.
donors. Our representative from Selhorn. We also see ACON, the CDB, the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Who else do we have there?
We have the project
High
manager
Commissioner,
acting. Project manager acting
the
is
High
also
Commissioner
there.
from High Commissioner to Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean. Prime Minister Gonsalves just mounting the days there. I suppose we can call this a days.
Just mounting that.
Yes, definitely an excellent shot. So guys, we're going to ask you to give us some focus on this particular shot. But
that was brief.
Right.
But
yes.
The photographers definitely got their shot in that moment. And but something we didn't mention, the fishers, and we saw some shots of them earlier.
Yes.
There were actually 35 registered fishers, boat operators who are compensated under this project. So outside of the relocation of the houses and the families and also the vendors, the fishers were also compensated. And we know a number of them ply their trade just across from where we're located here, just a few meters away. We saw the boats pulling up and the fishers in action, pulling in their boats and going out, etc. So we know that all of the bases are being covered in this project, and making sure that those who will be directly affected, the fishers, the homeowners, the vendors, have all been taken into consideration and dealt with fairly as we move forward into the next phase, the construction phase.
So as part of this as well, a total of 56 vendors were compensated to voluntarily remove the operations from the seawall. And this was done, back in 2020. And I remember that, and the substantial completion of the construction of homes in the Lomans Bay, which we have mentioned. All of that is taking place as part of that. So 47 housing units were built.
Yes,
some of them 14 one-bedroom duplexes, 5 two-bedroom, and one bedroom standalone structure. 8 three-bedroom duplexes were also built. 42 households were successfully resettled from Rose Place beachfront to Lomans Bay, and all of this was done at the end of March 31st, 2022. So, Colvin?
Yes, and we mentioned that a number of discussions, I think we mentioned this earlier, but there were community consultations, meetings. There's actually a community liaison officer, and we saw him here earlier this morning, Marlon Stevenson, who worked along with the government in, interfacing with those who occupy in this particular area, those who use it to ply their trade, the families who lived in this particular area, to make sure that all the bases were covered. And we saw him earlier on making sure that he made that connection with those who were, I believe some of the homeowners were also present in the audience when we had a look earlier, and some of the fishers also came by just behind our broadcast point to see what was happening, because they are being directly affected by what is going to happen to Rose Place, or Bottom Town as most people know it as. The reclamation site will now be extended well beyond what we know it as, from the northern part of Kingstown all the way down to the lower part, and we look forward to a beautiful facility in a few years from now on this site.
Well, we see the interaction is taking place, and we're happy that we were able to do all of this in the presence of good weather, because we started with a mixture of weather earlier on. And all in all, I think it was really a successful event in terms of the launch of this event, and we anticipate that throughout the duration of the building process and everything that needs to happen to fulfill the mandate, which is to complete a modern port by 2025. We hope that everything will definitely work well for this particular project. Colvin, your final thoughts as we get ready to thank the members of the team who worked this morning?
Yes, well, I don't think I can add that much to what was said earlier, and the fact that the project that we are about to witness, the construction commencement on, has been a long time in coming. It started all the way back in 2019. Later on, we had the signing of the contract, and then the actual commencement of works. Next week, officially, we had the turning of the soil a moment ago, symbolizing the commencement of work. And as we wrap up, we can see the rains, in the distance coming in again. So quite a timely completion of this morning's ceremony, in between of the actual ceremonial events here at the reclamation site, just behind of the agricultural input warehouse. That's where we're located. And as we get ready to leave you, we hope that you had a greater understanding of the magnitude of this project, being only beat by the Agan International Airport, which is the next large capital project, well above what the figure that we're looking at for this one. 460 million for Lot 1, the primary cargo port here in Kingstown. The modern facility, in just a few years from now, sitting at this location.
As we begin to wrap up our broadcast this morning, we want to thank all those persons who assisted us greatly in the staging and putting off of today's broadcast. From the onset, we have to thank Linsky Douglas. He was thanked in another capacity, but he has been very instrumental in us being here and ensuring that we had all the amenities which we needed to work with. So we also want to thank Dylan. Dylan, remind me of your surname. Dylan Robertson it is. Dylan Robinson of the Agency for Public Information. Antonio Richards of the Agency for Public Information. That's he's definitely selecting the shots and giving me orders all morning. But nevertheless, I appreciate that.
He's given us some very interesting shots along the way.
Right. So I also have to thank Dwight, Rohan, Zorro, Bennett, Morgan.
There's so many
Zorro,
names.
I got it right?
Yes, we got it.
Definitely got all the names correct. So Zorro, thank you so much. Zorro is our editor today. Also have to thank Jeremy. Jeremy, your surname is again? Jeremy Duncan. Jeremy Duncan, thank you so much and for being here. We also want to thank Rennie King. We also had with us this morning Shillingford Douglas and Javid Roberts. Can't forget Javid at all.
And we can't forget Donnie at Master Control on the radio.
We have to thank also Christopher Etienne. Christopher Etienne, who was a part of this broadcast. Simeon Cumberbatch as well, a part of our broadcast. Are we forgetting any members of the team?
I think we have have it
Brad
covered.
Harris. Brad Harris.
Yes.
We saw
API's
earlier
driver.
on Nadia Slater, of the Deputy Director of the Agency for Public Information, and we also saw Sean Rose,
Sean
who's
Rose,
assuming the position this
today,
morning
actually.
of our Director of the Agency for Public Information. So, Colvin,
Yes,
it's
I
just
think
basically
there's
just
nothing
left
else
the
to
two
add.
of us.
As we end with a beautiful shot flying over Rose's Place in Kingstown, bottom town as we know it, and a view of the barge there with all of the aggregate, and a view that we may not see again in a few years as we prepare for the transformation of this area, Rose Place, for the modern port project that should be completed in a few years from now. I believe that's a wrap. Thanks very much, everyone, and we hope that we will be able to, continue to bring you the updates as this project continues. You can follow all of the various platforms for continuous updates. We'll be able to keep you in the loop of things, and we hope that you would stay with us during the process.
My name is Dion John.
Hi.
I'm just saying, my name is Dion John.
And I'm Colvin Harry.
Thank you so much for viewing. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy the festivities and happy carnival.
Right up there, push them up, I say, right up there. Success, right up there. Respect, right up there. No flop, right up there. Put something in the air. Over the years we've been working hard for this life. Sweat in my shirt, tears in my eyes. It's hard to earn my pride. Oh, they trying to bring me down, but my Father make me stronger. And we ain't going under, cause the race is not for the swift, but those who endure to the end, my friend. Someone smile in front of your face, they love to pretend. I ain't got no time for them. No, they would never see me fall. No, cause who got blessed, no one curse. Now, cause the blessings right up there, right up there. God bless, no one curse. Now, cause the blessings right up there. Put something in the air. Let me see some lighters, right up there. Drinks them high, I say, right up there. Hands up, right up there. Push them up, I say, right up there. Success, right up there. Respect.
Music, action, theatrics, vibes, and enough energy. That's what you get at the biggest, baddest soca monarch in the world.
Right now is Baymas. Tell them a bear action.
This Saturday, July 2nd, Victoria Park will be lit as the finalist of the Ragga and Power Soca categories. 5 Boga prestigious crowns. Will Hans retain the Ragga crown, or will Magical beat his competitors? This Saturday from 9 p.m, all scores will be settled when the Vincy Soca Giants meet on stage at the Victoria Park. Get ready for special guest artist Problem Child.
I outside. Rubbing the head.
Problem Child. Alongside Skinny Fabulous.
We no fed nothing. We no fed nothing.
Early bird tickets are $60, $75 regular, $100 at the gate. Tickets are available at the CDC's office, VJ's Restaurant, CDC Lotto Booth, Video Extreme, Chill Spot, and 4 Shells. This Saturday we say 2 crowns, one venue. Soca Monarch, sell off.
Tingo nice again. When I'm with my friends, we go party and never stop till we end up all in a dream. It go be the same, so don't you complain. It go have plenty woman and soca party must get mash up again. I'm in a zone, feeling like a rock star. When you see the rum in me like a guitar, beg you leave me alone. I'm in a zone, feeling like a rock star. When you see the rum in me like a guitar, beg you leave me alone.
Music, action, theatrics, vibes, and enough energy. That's what you get at the biggest, baddest soca monarch in the world.
Right now is Baymas. Tell them a bear action.
This Saturday, July 2nd, Victoria Park will be lit as the finalist of the Ragga and Power Soca soca categories. 5 vulgar prestigious crowns. Will Hans retain the Ragga crown or will Magical beat his competitors? This Saturday from 9 p.m. all scores will be settled when the Vincy Soca Giants meet on stage at the Victoria Park. Get ready for special guest artist Problem Child.
I outside, rubbing my head.
Problem Child. Alongside Skinny Fabulous.
We no fed nothing. We no fed nothing.
Early bird tickets are $60, $75 regular, $100 at the gate. Tickets are available at the CDC's office, VJ's Restaurant, CDC Lotto Booth, Video Extreme, Chill Spot, and 4 Shells. This Saturday we say 2 crowns. One venue. Soca Monarch. Sell off.
Tingo nice again when I'm with my friends. We go party and never stop till we end up all in a jail. It go be the same, so don't you complain. It go have plenty woman and soca party must get mash up again. I'm in a zone, feeling like a rock star. When you see the rum in me like a guitar, beg you leave me alone. I'm in a zone, feeling like a rock star. When you see the rum in me like a guitar, beg you leave me alone.
Music, action, theatrics, vibes, and enough energy. That's what you get at the biggest, baddest soca monarch in the world.
Right now it's Baymass, tell them my bear action.
This Saturday, July 2nd, Victoria Park will be lit as the finalists of the Ragga and Power Soca categories. 5 vulgar prestigious crowns. Will Hans retain the Ragga crown or will Magical beat his competitors? This Saturday from 9 p.m. all scores will be settled when the Vincy Soca Giants meet on stage at the Victoria Park. Get ready for special guest artist Problem Child.
I outside, rubbing my head.
Problem Child.
Alongside Skinny Fabulous.
We no fed nothing. We no fed nothing.
Early bird tickets are $60, $75 regular, $100 at the gate. Tickets are available at the CDC's office, VJ's Restaurant, CDC Lotto Booth, Video Extreme, Chill Spot, and 4 Shells. This Saturday we say 2 crowns.